So however old you are in 6th grade, that's when I got behind a mower for the first time.
It's like what, like 12?
And you never went back.
And I never went back, dude. I never went back. But I started mowing other people's lawns probably sophomore, junior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that? Just like, how did it start? Just knocking on doors or what?
Dude, I have so many memories of getting started. I started originally with the lemonade stand. I just really wanted to make some money as a kid, and I wanted to see what running a business was like. So, had the corner lemonade stand in our neighborhood. I remember making like $23 or something, whatever it was, the first weekend. And I just wanted all the money myself, and I didn't pay the kids who helped me. And that was like my first, that was my first like lesson. I think I learned like you got to take care of the people who help you out. It was a very small thing, very silly thing, but yeah, that got me started. And then a couple years later, I took some equipment out of my parents' garage, went door to door knocking, and like got my first customers that way. I was just a neighborhood kid, like going around with these terrible flyers that I made on like, dude, I don't even know, Word maybe? It was like, they were so garbage. I have pictures of them. I could have brought them. You guys would have got a kick out of them. They're hilarious. And that was it, dude. And I just saved and saved and saved and saved, and then like bought better equipment. Eventually got a real commercial mower, and then got a trailer and a truck, and then I started mowing other people's lawns, and that's where I got my start.
Yeah. Why do you think you like had that even itch in the first place of like that want for like even just on like just money? Like was it something maybe you watched? Like did you look up to somebody that was like like got you into that? Because I feel like I'd always heard those things growing up, like the whole lemonade stand. But like I never really had like that drive to like actually do it. So like what do you think was different maybe about like your childhood that like really pushed that like entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, to start, I think I have a really supportive mom, and she always encouraged me to try things. And do I know exactly what like influenced me? I don't, but I think there's definitely a mix of it's just kind of like innately in me. I do believe that some people are just kind of hardwired to want to just take more risks and try the business thing out. And I think from a young age, I like wanted that. And I just had a mom who supported the heck out of me and didn't really give me a reason not to. And that's kind of what I would credit it to. Plus all that as well, like I had no risk. Like how old was I? 10, 12? Like it cost me $0 to go knock on people's doors. I had no equipment. I didn't have a real business. Like who cares? Like it's not that deep of a thing. That's why landscaping is so great, and I think more middle school, high school kids should do it, start their own little companies. But it was like a no-brainer. Like I'll learn something, I'll make some money, or my life will stay the same.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's like it's so easy to say that, and like even for me, thinking about anything I do now, it's really easy for me to come in like with that mindset. But when I was in like 8th grade, like freshman, sophomore year of high school, I was so uncomfortable like in myself to like be able to do any of that stuff, to like what if they like know that about me, or like like if they see me like knocking on doors, it's gonna be embarrassing. I'm gonna have to put myself out socially. Like why do you feel like you were like insulated to that?
Dude, it's actually crazy. So I listened to a lot of Gary Vee. If you're familiar, in my first like couple years knocking, I would go from house to house, put in the earbuds as I'm walking the sidewalk, take them out when I'm walking up their little like landing. And I got a lot of Gary Vee podcast time in, and he would always talk about how when he was on the come up, entrepreneurship was lame. Like if you were a kid trying to run a business, like you were a loser and people would laugh at you. And I think I just got like dealt a different set of cards where in high school, for me, like it was cool. Like people were like, "Oh, you run a business? Like, dude, that's sick. Like tell me about it." Or like you're saving up for college? Like that's amazing. I've had so many of my friends' parents like just gas me up, and I think that led to a pretty inflated ego at a young age, but it helped me it kind of helped me continue. And then I even I had absolutely no business doing this, but I went and made merch for my landscaping business, and sold like 30, 40 items. Like, there was no reason I should have done that, but it was just cool. Like, people wanted to, I don't know if support's the right word, or just like something about that is cool. And I think a lot of it has to do with, I think like the startup culture has kind of skyrocketed recently on social media, and it's just very glorified. So for me, I never felt like an outsider. Like, it made me feel cool to be like, oh yeah, I run a business.
You think a lot of people like looked up to you in high school just because it was something that they may have wanted to do that they didn't have?
I don't know if people looked up to me for that. I like to think, and I like to hope that maybe they looked up to me because I was a good friend or a good person, or because I cared. But I think at the time I definitely wanted people to know that I was running a business. I certainly wasn't a humble guy, because it made me feel so good to be like, oh yeah, I'm making money this weekend. What are you doing? Kind of thing. Like, I was lame, dude. I was lame like that.
Got my bread up.
Get your money up, not your funny up.
But yeah, I'm sure there were some kids who were like really interested in business but didn't know how to start, and were like, wow, like Aidan just kind of like did it. Like, that's cool. Yeah, I'm sure there's some people like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were others who thought it was lame. Like, there's always a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we went through a lot of that last year.
Last year, 100%.
Where we like when we started this, it's like,
everyone's you're starting a podcast. Like, you're just.
Well, yeah, no, but that we also had a ton of people that reinforced it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hard. And I mean, I feel like, yeah, we've experienced like that, like to a great extent as well. Like, even like when me and a third were working on like Divine Trajectory, like, would it like, I mean, you could just look at it and say it's like, you could be able to tell like it's not gonna work, but the people that are just supporting the doing is just so powerful. And
Yeah.
I like that helped reinforce that frame of thinking like so much.
Yeah.
It's helpful, especially at, I think, our age, where I think a lot of the stuff we do is more so for validation than because we actually want to do it. So when you get gassed up by your boys for starting something, yeah, I think it goes a long way.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe an important skill that's not talked about enough is surrounding yourself with people that validate the right things, rather than worrying about that, rather than what you feel like what you want validation for, like trying to fix that, like trying to fix what your friends are validating you for, rather than fixing what you feel validated for. Do you see like the minor tweak I'm trying to make? Or I could like try to explain
Say
it
it
a little
again.
bit. Okay. That I think about it a lot in terms of my ability to fix my environment rather than my ability to not be affected by it. Like, it's more important to improve upon, like, it's so much easier to do the first one. Do you agree? To, like, switch up my whole environment, because that'll lead to change in myself, rather than me trying to just not be affected by that same environment that's, like, taking me down. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. We were talking about how do you like know that you're growing? Like, how do you recognize growth in your life? And he kind of had this question. He's like, am I growing if I'm just able to identify all the weaknesses I have and then focus on improving them? Or is growth identifying your weaknesses and then saying, all right, I'm content with that. This is part of me. Like, I'm going to focus on my strengths, or I'm just kind of going to be at peace with these things. I don't know. Hot take.
There's so many, everything is qualified at the end of the day. Like, so much more nuanced than you think.
Yeah.
But at least, like, when it comes to, like, the timeline, I just want to dive in a little bit more on, like...
Let's chop it up.
Yeah. So that was, like, your sophomore year of high school, right around where you got started.
When I started up the landscaping business, yeah.
When do you think you experienced, like, the biggest leap? Like, was there a year that, like, you did a lot better than maybe the last year? And you're like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing something here. It's not, like, I just feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to see results from this.
Yeah, like the point where maybe you were like, oh, this is real. Like, it's real business.
I think it was very gradual. There wasn't a moment, that's for sure. The closest thing to that moment was when I had the crazy idea to say, all right, I'm going to make some merch and sell it. And I, like, just sold a ridiculous amount of merch. That was less of the company and more of like the brand. But the business was a slow grind. Like, landscaping is not scalable if you're a solo dude. And so my time was fixed, right? I could work after school until sundown, and then I could work on the weekends. But like, that's all I got. And unless I want to go hire people or get better equipment, but even better equipment has a kind of a point where it stops helping you get faster. There's not much more I can do. So I was super small-minded at first, where all I cared about was just the money that went into my pocket. So instead of hiring more friends or bringing someone along for a job with me who would help me finish it way faster and allow me to either spend more time with my family or like just, I don't know, go do some homework or go get other jobs, I would just do it solo because I didn't want to pay them. So I was just super short-term thinker, which kind of, I think, led to me not having one of those moments. It was slow. Like, the business would grow every year. It would grow a little bit. It would grow a little bit. I'd get better. I'd figure out how to do things a little better and create maybe some slightly better systems while I'm out there working. But, yeah, it was a slow grind. But I think it was right for me at that point in my life just to, like, get dirty. Like, I don't know. I saw, looking back, I see a ton of value in that kind of work for like a young man to do or woman.
Reminds me a lot of I think I say this phrase like at least once a podcast. Reminds me a lot of an Alex Ramosa quote.
Bang.
Which is like,
There it is.
Like, what you got?
Like in the movie, the Rocky cutscene is only like 30 seconds, but it's just so much longer, like in life. Like, I mean, you were doing this for years before you like start to see some actual results, not just like in yourself, but actual like on paper, like more like transferable like money results, right? And like for us, like we've been doing this for, I don't know, like almost a year now. And this is like when I feel like we're starting to see like the most
Congrats,
like, the
by
most
the way.
improvement.
We're not a year. We're like 7-8 months.
Well, what, February?
Yeah. So
Dude,
That's so mad
that's
impressive.
like 8-9 months.
Sticking
9
something
months.
out for
Yeah.
that long is
Yeah.
yeah,
mad
and we had the
impressive.
summer over that.
Exactly.
So
And then I think of someone like Casper that's been doing anything within social media for like since 2016. And it's so easy to see like where they're at now. And like that's 6 years. Like,
yeah.
I was playing hockey 6 years ago,
yeah.
which is like you don't like that's crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like your life can change like so much in that time. Like if you allow yourself like the time to be able to do it.
Yeah. Dude, it's so important to stop and reflect. Stop and smell the roses, per se. But otherwise, you just get caught up in, like, what's the next thing I can do? How can I be better in this? But, which is good to grow, and I think it's good to not be super complacent. But at the same time, like, you got to stop and see how far you come. Because I think there's a lot of, like, fruits that come out of that, too.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
live in the present for a little bit.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I don't do that enough. I don't know if you guys do or if you have any hacks that help you do it, but something I'm working on.
I think both of us struggle a little bit with living in the present, or at least I do.
I actually think I'm pretty good because I
It's okay to say you're good. Why are you
No,
hesitating?
yeah,
well, because I mean, you never can truly be as present as you'd want to be. I think that's true. But pretty much every day in the BIF, like I think I've said this before. Like I'll get outside of my classes on like the second or third floor, just like look down, just like all the kids. I'm like, damn, dude, like this is such an awesome opportunity. Like I'm in this bubble in the middle of Illinois with so many interesting people. Like that are all my age that I'm gonna grow up with. I'm gonna get to see them succeed. They're gonna get to see me succeed as well. And that's just such like a privilege. Like I'm just so good. And I just kind of like take a deep breath and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it's also good to build things that you can look back on, or like trackable markers of growth. I hinted at it when we started talking, but that's why I think this podcast is so awesome, that you guys can come back, listen to any episode you've done 10, 20 years ago, and just see what you cared about at the time, see how you talked, see like even your guys' friendship, like that's going to be cool to reflect back on. Like our friendship as we like leave here is going to be cool to look back on. This is such a great thing. I like to think of it as like a cool little time capsule.
Oh yeah, we looked back at it a little bit when we were preparing last night. We were preparing our slides for everything on Thursday.
Yeah.
And like, damn, we sucked. Literally, our first Instagram story. It's like all archived, but it's like this video of Austin saying first podcast like dry run just happened, whatever. There's like a water bottle that like falls over in it, and it's like it's just like the most like basic thing ever. But it's like that's where we started, and now we look at it like we would never post something like that ever. But it's cool to see that.
Yeah.
So,
dude, what great story starts with everything perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes it great.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. I mean, everything that I've, like, we were talking about this with Rohan, but I feel like in any pursuit, you have to like do like a 10 to 20 hour down payment, especially with skills. Because like, if you want to learn how to be able to finish, like, I don't know, something that you need to do in like an hour, you need to spend like 20 hours just figuring out how to like do it in the first place. And like it's just so hard to like give up that time sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's almost easier though when you frame it like that. Like,
this
10 to 20 hours I'm probably not going to get anything out of, but it's my down payment.
Yeah.
And the fruits will come later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's when I do frame it like that, it helps a lot. But sometimes it's hard to like really see it like that, or like have the full faith that like, oh, like I just have to like push through some of this. Like, okay, like what is this? Like, what does this mean? To be able to actually get to that point, like afterwards.
Totally.
But one thing that, I mean, I talked about this a little bit with, like, when I'm just, like, looking out in the BIF, just, like, how grateful I am to, like, have, like, to be in this bubble of just, like, awesome people, right? But there is a degree of, like, actually putting in the effort yourself to, like, kind of curate your environment, to, like, be surrounded by, like, even people that are even more similar and, like, people that want to be on the same trajectory as you. And I feel like that's something that you really try to implement in your own life, whether that's like living in a house in Austin or like hosting meetups with like founders of like people that you want to be around or whatever it may be. So when did that really start to like click in your head of like, I actually want, like, I want to put into practice of like being surrounded by these people. It's something that I really want to go out of my way for.
There was never a moment where I'm like, I need this. There wasn't a moment. It was very gradual. Like many things in my life, I think that's a theme. It's very slow, gradual kind of realization. But dude, I love people so much, and I think spending time with all different types of people, but different people is just like so good for so many reasons. And that's one of the things that fills me up. I've come to learn, like, whether I'm hanging out with other businessy minded kids and we're just chopping it up about problems in our business and like trying to figure that out, or it's just like getting deep with some dudes and like getting vulnerable and helping each other grow in like some areas of our life where we're kind of struggling, or it's like, what other situations? I don't know, just like gooning around with the roommates, like that stuff really, really fills me up. So
Gooning.
I just like want
Gooning
more
as
of
a
that.
verb is awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all here for it.
So dude, I just like, when I find something like that really fills me up and I just want more of it, I'll go and get more of it. And a lot of that just means sending out simple invitations. Like, this stuff isn't hard. Like, you've seen the meetups I've thrown. It might look like a production, but it's not. I just reach out to people who I think should be friends and who I just want to hang out with, and invite them to one place at a time, and that's it. And it just works. It's easy to like overcomplicate this stuff, but at the end of the day, like, people will just who really enjoy spending time together will spend time together, have a great time. It doesn't take a whole lot from me.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier when you were talking about like your major and not liking it. You're like, yeah, love the people. That's what's more
See?
important.
I love the people.
Yeah. That's cool though.
That's like a part of like why I want to minor in CS is just being around those kids. Like
Really?
it's, yeah.
What do you like about them?
It's like there's nothing likable about them.
Yeah, that came across in the wrong way, but I just heard very polarizing things, so I'm curious why you think that. That's all.
They're all smarter than me.
Fair.
Yeah, and I love that.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
That's a valid reason. I mean,
it's good to be challenged,
yeah.
of course.
But there is something of recognizing there's other areas of life that maybe I have a little bit of an upper hand as well. So it's not like, I don't mean that in like a self-deprecating way of like, oh, like they're all smarter than me. Like I never really negatively affects me, because there's all, like, if I really look at it through like a macro view, I'm like, okay, like there's other things in life that are of value other than just like intelligence, right? But that's a big part of it. But I mean, I've really tried to like, I don't want to say like curate, because I mean to an extent, yeah, but of like the people that I'm surrounded by, of like really making time for like the people that I feel like I want to be on the same trajectory with. And a part of that was last summer, like me and Paul, I know you met Paul.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about like living and like just living together next summer, because it just like sucked, like living, like not being around like the same motivating like people that I am down here, right? And I mean, I know that it's easy to say that, but like to actually do that's different. So like, what actually like push you like sign the like the lease down in like Austin? Like, how was your experience with that?
With deciding to move to Austin?
Yeah, last summer.
If you could have been on the phone call where I said yes to that, you would laugh me out of the room. My good friend Bobby Housel, I was on the phone with him and some other friends, and he kind of extended the invitation to us, and I was on the fence about doing something for the summer. I wanted to do something untraditional. I wanted to get uncomfortable. I wanted to grow in certain areas that I didn't think I would in an internship. And I was just very much stereotyping internships. I don't know anything about them. Maybe I could have grown in one, but looking back, it was definitely the right move for me. But he extended this invitation, and instantly I just said, yes, I'm in. I didn't think twice. I didn't ask how much. I didn't ask when the move-in is. I didn't ask how many roommates. I didn't ask any questions. I just said I'm in. And I think a part of that was just, I was kind of looking for an opportunity, and I was like, all right, like, God, give me what you want me to do this summer. And he did. And I said yes. And now looking back, yeah, it was great.
What were some of like the memories you guys shared down there?
Oh, dude.
Because I could only I'd love to live in like some sort of environment like that.
Dude, it was such a special time. And to paint the picture for you guys, I moved down there with Jacob Swinney, who became a really good friend. We drove down together. We made that, 12, 13-hour drive in a day. We get to this house like 10 minutes south of downtown Austin, and as the summer progressed, we got really close with these 6-7 other hooligans who were living in this house. It makes me smile, dude, thinking of that, because those guys I really learned a lot from them, and they taught me so much about myself and just about like what I want out of life, I think. And they inspired me in so many ways. But dude, I just got to live with like these freaking psycho freak, like they're crazy guys, and I got to learn how they respond to tough news, how they manage work and life, how they like spend their free time, like how they communicate with their significant other or their family. Like just being in one house, a lot of those things kind of rub off on you, and you pick up something you like or something you don't like. And I'm like, all right, I see that in myself. I want to work on that. Or I really liked how that person just like handled that situation. I want to be like that.
Yeah. What's like something that you like picked up on that you grew on from that experience over the summer?
Yeah, one of the this always comes to mind first. My dear pal Max Waltz taught me probably the most important lesson I learned this summer, and that was to not be a bystander and to speak up for what you believe in, whatever that looks like for you. That summer I kind of realized I was very passive, lackluster with a lot of things. Just kind of comfortable. Like I wasn't like a big confrontation guy, and I like shied away from a lot of conversations I should have had. And he taught me like, no, if you see something that's wrong, like yeah, be the person who like steps up and does the right thing and like says something or has that hard conversation. And I'm very, very grateful to him for teaching me that.
Okay. Well, now if you truly learned, you must have implemented it at some point. So is there any time, and again, that also could be something where maybe it's not something you'd want to say, like, of a time that you implemented it, like you know, and whatever. But is there a time that like would come to your mind of like, okay, like I remember I learned that, like let me actually like implement it into my own life.
Of course, dude. Yeah, we can get real here too. In relationships for me, specifically one with my ex-girlfriend, in a lot of ways I just like wasn't leading in the relationship. I wasn't like being the man that I wanted to be. And that just came from me like being passive and ignoring things when I should have brought them up. So in not being a bystander, in taking what I learned and actually applying it, I started having some hard conversations. And unfortunately, you know, that led to a breakup, but it was very hard for me. And of course it was a rough couple months, but it was the right thing, 100% for both of us. And it wouldn't have happened, I don't think, or it would have delayed what could possibly have been inevitable for, you know, a long period of time. So
I do think that not having those hard conversations doesn't prevent like the end from coming. It just delays it. Now I know you hinted at that there, but I mean I've seen that like so much in my own life of I can see something starting to fizzle out, and it just keeps going because it's just there's one principle that it's like things are just okay, so you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You're not motivated enough to leave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If things like were really good, obviously you're gonna stay. But like if they're just at that threshold of like, it's good enough. So I'm just not gonna leave.
Yeah.
And I mean that can be in so many instances, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationship, whether it's like the school you go to, and like people just never find out like, I mean, and I've definitely like had this at times. Like you can never like find out what's on like the other side of the fence because you just don't have those conversations.
Yeah.
Totally.
Gotta have them. Get over that good enough threshold.
Totally.
Whatever it is.
Totally. And it's almost always the right thing to do. Like, play out the scenarios in your head. You have a hard conversation and it goes well, then great. Like, whatever you wanted to happen has happened. Or it goes terrible. Then at least that other person knows where you stand and there's nothing wrong or bad about being honest and upfront. I think that's a very honorable thing to do in every situation.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of taught you that, like, at the end of the day, your opinion matters the most? Like, to yourself, at least.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would say it taught me to trust myself a little more. Like, yes, there's a lot of people I respect and admire, and I'm sure have great advice for me in certain situations and want the best for me. And if I were to ask them something, they would drop everything and help me, and that's like such a great peace of mind. But at the end of the day, like, nobody knows your situation or yourself like you do. And sometimes you got to block out the noise and like just listen to yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get trapped in just a spiral of, okay, I got to act this way to make sure I'm kind of doing what that person said. And then, okay, shoot, now I got to act this way because that person said to do this. And all of a sudden now you're not even your own person. Like, you're not thinking for yourself. What are you doing? So I've learned that. I've had a lot of experiences like that for sure.
Sounds like you've made like a lot of like personal development, whether it was like this summer, and also like in an area that like you were talking about it at the beginning, where in high school you're just kind of okay. In high school, is it fine? I could just cut it.
No,
okay.
we're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
it's good.
Sorry, I got a call, but we're good.
Yeah, his
Good,
dad.
All good.
That's the only
The pops.
acceptable person.
Yeah.
Dad and mom.
Of course.
But hinted at this a little bit earlier. of where you said in high school, like you kind of blew up your ego a little bit of like people just reading like, oh, Aiden's doing that business thing, right? And like people like maybe like hyped you up more than you feel like was good for you at the time. But now, honestly, I think you're one of like the most humble people I know. So
thank you.
When do you think
Working on it.
When do you think that was something you actually started to work on and maybe like realized about yourself? You're like, oh, I'm kind of like a prick, right? Like when did those things actually start to like
when
switch?
did I like realize, wait a second, I should probably like,
and again, it's going to be gradual. I already know you're, but like when did you actually start to like make changes like within yourself?
Yeah, this year, probably.
This year?
Really?
Like seriously this year. Yeah. I've always tried, I think, to be humble, and maybe it's not even honorable to say it was humble. Maybe I was just too shy to like gloat or brag or whatever it was, but to actually be like humble and try to have some humility, it's been this year, maybe the past even few months. So yeah, I'm learning as we speak. Totally.
I like that a little bit where you were like, I think I was just too shy to gloat. Like it's just like it reminds me of like in a weird way. Like you ever hear those analogies where it's like, oh, like I don't know, like maybe a boyfriend's like not cheating on a girlfriend only because he can't. Like it's just because there's not an option for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there could be like so many different like whatevers for it. It's like it's not that you're being loyal. It's just like hasn't been tested because you actually haven't had something like else put in front of your face, right? And like that's just like something that like that kind of reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
do you see what I'm talking about at all?
Yeah, I do.
I could see it a lot with like opportunities. Like that's one thing. Like how have you only like kind of been tunnel visioned like on your business the last like? Because I feel like there's had to be opportunities that like come in front of you.
Oh yeah, like that make you lose focus a little bit, or
that you're like, oh, like that'd be kind of exciting. Like, why don't I try that out? Or it's like, oh, I've been doing this for so long. Maybe I want to pivot. Like, how have you been able to like really be like this consistent with it?
Tunnel vision isn't the right word. I got to be honest. I definitely am a curious guy, and I'm always thinking about different things, like what I want to tinker with next. I already have some ideas of like some next projects I want to work on. But the business does already demand so much, and we can kind of talk about the journey from high school to where it is now. Like, why am I still running it? Like 5 years later, we can talk about that too. But it does demand a lot of my time. So I really don't have even the bandwidth to like get distracted a whole lot. I think I need to seek that out more. This past like 6 months, I've been a big proponent of trying to do more. I'm trying to bite off a little more than I can chew, because I think past 2 years I have been a little passive, a little comfortable with the business, and it hasn't grown as fast as we have wanted to. And I think part of that is just my heart isn't fully in it like it was before. So it moves a little slower. But the opportunities that do come, I'm usually a yes guy, and I will say yes to things, especially as of lately.
Do you think like the business has slowed down a little bit because the last year and a half or so you've been here, like at U of I? Or like you were saying, you don't feel that your heart's like fully into it. Do you think like being here is part of that reason? Because now your mind's maybe on like meeting people here, running like.
Dude, yeah, I mean, holy cow, did coming to a college campus blow my freaking mind. Like, there are so many amazing things here. Like,
even like this room, goodness. you were just in awe.
Yeah. Dude, I came in here. You got camera, light. What the heck? Like, dude, I feel like a celebrity. Like, this is crazy. And and I was just saying, like, I bet 97% of the population at the school doesn't even know this room exists. Like, there are so many amazing things on this campus, and so many amazing people to meet. Like, coming here just completely broke my frame because I went to community college for 2 years, and there was no community there. It was you go to school and you go home, and it was a good, like, it was, I don't mean to talk bad about it. It was a good time in my life where I got really close with my family, but I definitely got used to that lifestyle, and I came here and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? There's so much I want to do. So to answer your question, yeah, when I got here, there were so many things I wanted to do, and I definitely spread myself too thin a little bit. So the business was not my number one priority at all. I kind of did like enough to get by and hit the targets that we needed to hit, but I wasn't going home at night and thinking like, all right, how can I like drum up a new system to speed up this process? Or how could I have had a better answer to that customer complaint today? Like, that's how I was in the beginning, and then getting here and just exploring other interests, specifically to this business, those things have kind of dwindled, which isn't a bad thing. Like, I think my interests are just changing. Like, just like you guys, I'm growing up too. Like, I'm learning a lot being here and figuring out what I like, what I dislike. So
yeah, I think as long as like you fill that time with something valuable, which you are, it's fine. Like, if you're filling your time with like being here, not focus on the business much, and then like the things you are doing are just like useless things, then it doesn't make sense. But clearly you're not, so I think it's fine, right? Like, your interests change.
Let me ask you this, because I'm curious. How do you filter what is a useful thing and what is not a useful thing?
Useful in like relation to what? Like, we're talking like.
Well,
useful
you started
for
just said useful. I'm just curious
Yeah.
what that means.
Okay.
No,
what it means for him.
For me, useful means like something that I'm gaining something from. Like,
Understood.
I will say going out sometimes is useful, because it'll be like 3 weeks of me doing work, and then I think like
Sure.
that night is useful. But if you're going out like 5 times a week, that's when it's not useful.
Sure.
Whereas like, if like those 5 free nights you have in the week, you're like lifting one night, you're hanging out with like a group of people that are going to make you better the other night, working on like CSMP, whatever you got going on, pledge case comp, whatever it might be. Those are all things that are making you better. So I consider those useful.
Cool.
I know that useful is like a very broad word. So
I also
get
think
your
it's
question, but
I also think it's like not whether or not it's useful, it's like how useful it is as well.
yeah, that's also an important
Because
factor.
everything is useful to an extent, or like some things can be negative, but then again though, there's a ton of things that are useful. Like me cleaning my room or like remodeling my room when I have a CSMP due, like, it's useful, but it's not more useful than me actually doing the MP itself. So I mean, I think it's like all about like stacking everything up against itself.
Opportunity cost and utility.
Oh yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm the
There's that
only
finance.
business major in the room.
Yeah, I took Econ 102. I know that much.
Bang.
Yeah, so it's a little something. But
Nice.
do you think you've only stuck with it because like you're pretty deep in it?
Stuck with the business?
Yeah.
No, not just that. I've got an amazing partner, and I'm sure if I wanted to leave, he could run it himself. He's very capable, very smart. But I do really enjoy getting to take care of the crews. And what do I mean, take care of them? I just mean, and to give some context, the business now has subcontractors. So I'm no longer on a mower myself with my own equipment. We have existing lawn care companies with their own equipment, their own employees, who just have some extra space in their schedule, so they want some extra work, partner with us. And if we bring them onto our team, we'll kind of give them work to keep them busy, where they will handle the actual service and we handle the whole business side of things for them. So that's a little context on the business. Remind me what you had asked.
Of like why you're still doing it.
That's right, why I'm still doing it. So our crews, I do really enjoy getting to keep them busy and like build a relationship with them. One of them had a daughter a couple years ago, and I don't know, it's something about that just was exciting to me, and you know, made me feel good that I'm able to help give them business to, you know, raise a family. Like it's something cool. I don't think about it a lot because I am like young, I guess you could say. I would always.
You did.
You are young.
Yeah, you're young. You're 20, 21,
I guess 22.
22.
Definitely young. Part of me felt so weird that I was like having to give commands, right? Whatever the heck that means. Just instructions to dudes 20, 30 years older than me. And that made me feel weird at first. But as the years have gone by, it just got more and more special to me. Like getting to build relationships with them outside of just Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 work stuff has been special. It does still make me happy when a customer reaches out and tells us how much they love our service or appreciate what we do, and knowing that we're giving them some peace of mind. You just never know what people have going on in their life. Everyone's got a story, and if the one thing that brings them joy each week is coming home on Friday to a nicely cut lawn where they don't have to worry about it or stress, then that makes me happy. And that's why I stick with it. Plus, it's helping me pay for school and pay for other projects. I can't ignore those things. Yeah.
What's like, so you mentioned, one thing that caught my attention was like, you mentioned how you're like outsourcing with like existing lawn care companies. Is that going to make it easier for you guys to expand outside of, are you only still in Naperville?
Yes, we're only still in Naperville.
Is that like the plan to make it easier to expand then? Because obviously if you have a crew of your own, they can't go from Naperville to Evanston and like all the time or whatever.
Yeah, we're essentially building a solid concrete army that is tech enabled that we can deploy anywhere. So we're building the systems. We have the app where customers can create an account, request for services, and we're building our vetting process to hire only the best subcontractors in any area, not just Naperville. So say next year we decide, all right, we're going to go open a branch in Champaign, Illinois. We can deploy our entire suite of hiring processes, marketing processes, and start up a branch here very easily. So yes, it's a very scalable business with the way we're setting it up. Is that exactly what we want to do? I don't know. To just be quite frank, maybe not. But we're really enjoying kind of the growth that we're having now and our kind of plans for the coming year.
What do you think will like make you guys different? Because I mean, I feel like you gotta obviously go like straight to, oh, like this person's come my lawn for years, like I go to them, or maybe there's other companies that like you could outsource it to, or like, I mean, is that true? Like, is there like other ways that like you could find like oh, like if I want to get like my lawn cut by like some like outsourcing or like subcontracting company, like there's other ones you could find. So like, what would like make you guys different?
Yeah, great question. There's a million lawn care companies, and yeah, how are we going to stand out? It's important for us to think about. So there's a couple things. One, the hard reality is a lot of lawn care companies are just not professional, or they lack some thing, whether that's on the owner's side or on the business side. They're just missing like some piece of what you need to run like a solid business, whatever that is. Whether it's just keeping their books straight, or if it's like a tax issue, or if the owner just has like a temper and he's just always cussing out customers, like you can't do that. So with us, we focused on building a really smooth, efficient business that provides the service that people want, and they can expect the same thing every week. Because that's important, right? Like, yes, the service is obviously very important. Having a high-quality service that you can expect every week reliably is very important. And that already sets us apart from like 80 to 85% of our competitors, which is crazy. And then the other small percent that I think separates us from maybe the companies who use some sort of tech, maybe a little bit more customer focused, I think is the better word, is our company does have a good story. Mo and I were both, we both went to high school in Naperville. We grew up there. We are like the lawn care kids, and we just kept it going. So we have that story, and that goes a long way, and I think customers appreciate that. They like knowing that they're supporting a a student ran business. Kids, like, I'm still a student. Mo graduated a few years ago. That sets us apart. And then also we just really, really care if something goes wrong. And I think this is probably the most important point. If our crew breaks something, or if they go around a turn too fast and tear up the grass or bump into a fence and something breaks, we take that more seriously than the customer. I will show up at your house in person if I need to make sure things are okay. And customers see that. And I think all of the issues, the big issues that we've had, those customers who you would expect to go blow us up on Google reviews or Yelp or just like destroy our name have turned into some of our biggest advocates. And I think that that says a lot about how we take care of customers.
There's some underlying like business practices that like you implicitly talked about there that like I just want to highlight real quick. It was just like attention to detail is just so important. I remember like hearing you talk about how like when I was the one on the like mowing, like everything needed to be perfect. Like I cared so much about everything, like all that like attention to detail, right? And now you have consistently done that, like whether it was yourself, whether it's like the actual subcontractors, whether it's like customer satisfaction, like everything needs the product itself needs to be perfect. And like I think that is like an incredibly important thing for anybody that might be like wanting to start a business, is like make each individual service or product as good as it possibly can be. Also, another thing that like I've learned through some of our stuff is you need to find like your niche. And for you, it's geographical, my bad. Not rocks. Geographical, right?
Close enough.
Naperville, go to high school there, but also find your hometown. Like, it's also your hometown, right? Mm-hmm. You also were knocking door to door, so they already knew who you were. Yeah. And you were able to, like, get to the top of that niche, like, pretty quick. Just whether it was through, like, connections, but also, like we just said, like, that quality product. And then from there, like, this is how you guys trying to go from, like, the pond to, like, the lake to the ocean, like, after that. It's like if you could just continue to like maintain that brand, like that's when you'll actually be able to like, and that goes into like grabbing like, you know, larger parts of the market, like larger like percentage of the market, everything like that. But like, what scaling like problems do you think you'll encounter, or have you encountered?
Yeah, well, I'll also add this, like it's important, like thinking back on the growth from, you know, me going door to door, getting my first couple jobs and, you know, charging $10 an hour and then having to spend like $30 disposing of waste and just losing money on jobs to the business to where it is now, where it's running pretty efficiently. Like, of course, I learned a lot of things. I did a lot of things wrong, just like you guys mentioned. Like, you make mistakes with the pod, you learn from it, doesn't happen again. Like, there was a lot of those, but there were also a lot of wins. And I think it's really important to remember what kind of got you those wins and to not forget that. And a lot of those things are just unscalable. Like going to a customer's house in person now, completely unscalable for me and not like not worth my time per se. To say my time is important. Like who do I think I am? But just with the number of customers we have, it's not feasible to do that. But I did that when we started, and that's like, and so did Mo, and that's what got us to where we are today. Like, I don't know, still keeping like the hustle startup mentality, even though we're, I think, more of a lifestyle business now, is huge. Like, that's our culture. Like, we care deeply because we cared deeply when we started, and that's something that I never want to forget, and I'll definitely carry with me out of this business. For sure.
Yeah. Do you think that, so obviously as you scale bigger and bigger, like you said, that won't be possible. Do you think that's going to affect the business at all? Or do you think like the brand is kind of like going to be built to like be known for that?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. I wrestle with it. Like, I still really try to do those unscalable things, like follow up with every new customer on every job. I really do try, but you know, I'm a person too. Like, I'm not gonna. I just can't do them all. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. It really does. It really does. And yeah, will that one customer maybe not have as great an experience had they signed up 2 years prior?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But as we scale, I'm looking for other ways to hack at unscalable things. And I don't have any great ones yet. But yeah, it's a trade-off. Like when I first started, I knew every customer's first and last name, where they lived, if they had any kids, where their kids went to school, and they knew a lot about me. And unfortunately now, like, I'll get a call from a customer who calls me up and they say their name and I have no idea who they are. And that's just like embarrassing, but it's just kind of...
It's a good thing and a bad thing.
It's a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah, it
Yeah.
shows like the business is growing, which is good. But I also dislike being disconnected from the product. And when I'm no longer out there doing all the work, talking to the customers, being on their home, on their property, I am to a degree disconnected from the product. And yeah, there's certainly downfalls for that, of course. It's a trade-off.
For sure. Like I think we've talked a lot about like how all of that work like within the business has like worked on you a lot and like kind of like upgraded you and like
Yeah,
your
totally.
skills, whatever it may be. But like at least when it comes to the business in and of itself, like how has that grown like on an annual basis? Like if you're going back to like, oh, like you're mowing back in, I don't know, well, okay, 6th grade was the paying your own rent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say like sophomore year is like maybe when you could actually be like, okay, if I did it the whole summer, like the whole year, I probably made X amount. Like how have we like seen that like grow over time?
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. When I started and I just had no idea how to price jobs, I would not only not make money, I would spend money to go work at someone's house. I would lose money every job. I think that's a funny thing. Like despite all the praise I was getting from like classmates in high school who like thought it was so cool about what I was doing, like they were making more money than me. I was losing money.
They were making more money by not doing anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Forget the ones who had jobs. The ones
Yeah,
that get
dude,
home are still
which is
making
hilarious, but like that was just like my early reality, and of course I learned from that. And gosh, to give concrete numbers, I wish I remember, but I know my senior year the business probably did around like 30 or 40,000, which my gosh, for when I'm 18, that was like that's life-changing. Like that's such a gift. And I put a lot of that into the business, of course. That's not all profit, that's just like total sales and this and that, but that kind of helped me like start learning the value of money. Like, all right, I got to save some for school.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably invest some because I heard that's a good thing to do. How do I invest? How do I like, what does that even mean? Am I supposed to buy stocks or should I put it into crypto? Like, what the hell?
What even is crypto?
Yeah, what even is
Like,
crypto? I don't know.
Yeah.
So like I had to learn all these things, and that was really good for me, I think, to start figuring out. I made a ton of stupid mistakes, and like, of course, learn from them. And they were big mistakes at the time, but looking back now, I'm so happy I made those mistakes when I made them then versus, I don't know, now or in like 5 to 10 years when maybe things are a little more important and I have like kids and a wife that I want to take care of, and I can't be like making big financial blowouts. So that's good that those things happened. And then, so I grew that business. First 2 years of school, I went to community college. It was around that time that Mo approached me with his business. He's like, yo, dude, I'm graduating college. Like, I was going to try to sell my business, but let's merge and let's focus on like building this new Uber for lawn care together.
Mm-hmm.
And said yes to that. And we've been working ever since. I think this is our 4th year, and we're trying to do over $250,000 this year.
Sick. Was that, and then, okay. Damn, dude, 30K to a quarter, that's crazy. It also is interesting to see how, like, framing things, like, sounds different. Because
Yeah.
$250,000, like, is like, whoa. That's ridiculous. Because then once you, like, frame it in, like, the sense of, like, a million, it's like, but when it comes, like, that 30K to, when did it actually, like, what year do you think it rose the most? Was that, like, when you were in community and your head was, like, just counting down and you were grinding?
I think it was the second year Mo and I were working together.
Was that your sophomore year at community? Or was that...
I think that might have been my first year here at Illinois.
Okay.
Okay, so that's last year, right?
Oh, wait.
2 years ago.
Oh,
2 years
wait.
ago,
So
okay.
you went to a community.
To a community, and then this is my third year here.
Okay.
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 Yeah. So my first year here, I think, is when we did the most. And a lot of that was because we hired some great crews in the beginning of the season who stuck it out. It's so funny how it's really just setting up good systems in the beginning and just letting them ride. Like right now, if I said, all right, I want to go do $100,000 a month in November, that's like not possible. If I said that though in the spring, I was like, I want to have $100,000 a month, then we can set up systems to get there. But like now it's too late. So what worked so well that year was we just hired some really, really good crews, and we got really lucky with just finding good crews. And yeah, they killed it. And we were able to just supply them with work, and we didn't have to turn down customers. So that's kind of our plan going into next year is get the crews that we need, make sure they're a good fit, and then not have to turn away a single customer. And that'll take us to where we want to go.
This is just something I was wondering. Was
Yeah.
going to community college like a choice you made because you wanted to focus on the business while in school?
Yeah, there were a couple reasons. That was one of them for sure. For whatever, I still don't know why I thought this way, but for whatever reason, I remember having the thought senior year of college that I've got something going here. I don't want to just throw it out. Mind you, my idea of what I thought something going meant was a business doing $30K in revenue. Like I can't even really live off that comfortably.
But
Not
it's
to
money
mention-
nonetheless. It's hard to even like get a bit like
Yeah.
off its feet.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I just had faith that like I should stick this out. So yeah, part of it was the business. Part of it was also I knew college is a big deal, and I know it's expensive, and I couldn't really justify going to a four-year university and having to take out loans if I didn't know what I wanted to study or do. And I was still very much like figuring myself out and what I cared about, and I still am like to this day. I think I like to think I have a little bit better of an idea now than I did then, but I wanted to like figure that out first, figure out what the heck I'm going to study. And this could be a whole nother conversation in itself, but I thought like whatever you choose to study, that's what you do. So I better like think this through and be right about it. Of course, that's not the case. And then I think the last reason was I just wanted to be close to my family. Like I have 2 younger brothers, and they're at like a really important age of growth. One's in high school, one's in middle school now. And I just wanted to still be around them. Yeah.
Was that like for that one specifically? Did you make that decision like with that in mind, or was that something that you saw a benefit of with staying home?
I think I made the decision more so based on the first 2.
Yeah.
That wasn't like a deal breaker, but it certainly was like a big grace of staying home, and something I did think about. Yeah, for sure.
It definitely makes you appreciate everything more too.
Yeah.
Because like when
Yeah.
you're down here, it's like I feel like it's really easy to walk in here as a freshman and then just get used to it.
Yeah,
For like 3 years.
dude, I didn't know what like real friendship or real community was until I got here. It's funny, it's called community college, but to the one I went to, there was no community, and I think, of course, COVID had something to do with that, and that made it a lot harder. We're all home, I get that. But, dude, coming here, like, and just meeting all the different people I've gotten to meet and, like, trying to get involved in different things and just, like, seek out different people in different pockets of campus, I've, like, my whole view on friendship has totally changed, and we could talk about that. And my whole view on like the importance of community has changed, and we chatted about it a little bit, but I think that's part of why I go after it so hard, just because it's done so much for me, and I know what it's like to not have it, and I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear that. Let's talk about it. How is like your view on friendship changed?
Dude,
Um,
so dramatically. It took me until this year. I'm 22, about to be 23.
okay.
And I feel like I just this year am starting to grip with like what real authentic friendship means. I think in high school, of course, I had friends. I was a social guy. I wasn't the guy who had like one group. I would kind of be close with all the groups kind of around. And that was just because I see you guys smiling over there. What's...
I think we were both like that a little bit.
Yeah, like we've had extensive conversations of like, I mean, at least for me, and then I'm not gonna make it about me though. Is I was friends. I was close. Like I was friends with everyone. I'm dapping everybody up in the halls.
Oh yeah.
But like when it comes to a Friday night, I think how, that makes me sound. Sometimes people would like ask me, oh, like what are you doing? But I feel like a lot of people assumed I was like in like a, cause I was in class, like I'm always like talking with everybody, but I never like hung out with people outside of school.
I see.
Which was at least how it was for me.
Yeah.
But and then we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, sir.
Yeah. But I was that guy. Like I just really loved being friends with kind of everybody and not being tied down to one group. But it wasn't like real authentic friendship. I did have a group kind of senior year who I would hang out with regularly who were great people, and I'm still in touch with most of them like 4 or 5 years later, and I will be for my whole life. I know that. But coming here and like college is a crazy time, right? You're growing a lot. You're learning a lot about yourself. You're probably going through some sort of struggle. Everyone's got something. And like I kind of realized this year, like to have like a little army to fall back on, and like let's talk about what that means. But to have like a group of soldiers who you know have got your back is so, dude. It's just like so amazing. I've got a really, really good group now of guys who, and I'll tell you what's great about them. One, they're fun to spend time with, right? This is an easy box to check. I'm sure you can think of 100 people who are fun to spend time with. But it goes deeper than that, right? You can be around someone and have a good time, but they're not really a friend. They don't know what you need. They don't know how to help you with things. But all these guys, they know vulnerable parts about me, and that's because I chose to open up to them about those things, and they've done the same to me. So why is that important? Well, if I'm like struggling or I'm down, like having people to go to who know where you're at is so huge. And it's been so huge for me just to have guys who kind of know like my patterns, know my pitfalls, know like how I respond to things and how they can actually help me. It's just love, man. It's love. And it's so great. I'm kind of rambling here. Let me collect my thoughts for a second. But authentic friendship, like what is it? I think it's having people who know what you're struggling with. Like if you're struggling with something, are there people in your life who know? Specifically, like you guys are men, like are there other men who know what you're struggling with? Whatever that is. Like maybe your parents are going through a divorce. I don't know. Like do they know that? And that's a choice that you got to make if you want to open up about it. But I chose like to do that with this group of guys, and they've done that with me, and it's like it's really good for, I think, processing certain things and then actually making progress on them too. Like I said earlier, a lot of advice can just be noise, but if you've got a small, tight-knit circle, they'll get you right. And I like to think that iron sharpens iron for sure. Like if you're around people who inspire you and just like always kind of love you no matter how you show up, you'll kind of carry yourself that way too. And I think that's a special thing, especially as a dude. Like I think we can dudes particularly can be really good about like stiffening up and being tough. But I think it's good for guys to get vulnerable every now and then with each other and just like get real. I think that's like where deep friendship comes from.
How'd you find these people?
Honestly, all from the same spot, from my Bible study last year.
Really?
That's where I met all of my roommates this year. And then that led into now I'm in like a more like a discipleship group, so it's a little more time commit, a little bit more serious. And all the guys in that I see for hours every week. And yeah, we're just like soldiers for each other, dude. It's the coolest thing ever. Like, they got my back more than I've ever had anyone have my back, and it's the same with me for them. Yeah, I met them all in the same spot.
When did you well, at least I feel like when we've had conversations about it, you weren't always like as like religious like as you are now. Is that true?
I would say so.
Okay. So like what do you think like opened you up like, or like to really make it like a larger part of your life? And like when was that? And
Yeah.
so in like what time period?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like my family was religious, you could say. My mom's Catholic, my grandma's Catholic. So I kind of grew up with it. It was always like something we would do. We go to church on Fridays or Sundays. But that was it. And then high school, I kind of drifted from it. I thought, I didn't really need it. And realized like, yeah, just something was like missing. I don't know. It wasn't, the things I thought I was doing to like fulfill myself just wasn't happening. I was doing things right. I thought like I was doing good in school. I was like building good relationships. I was like listening to my mom when she told me to do things. I was, doing all the right things, but just like was still missing something. And then I go to community college and same thing. Nothing really changed. No community there. I'm sure there was. I just didn't seek it out, but I didn't desire it either. And then I came here, and my ex-girlfriend at the time, I think, played a really big role in me like desiring to grow in my faith because she was growing in her faith. Came here, joined a Bible study with my old roommates, who are just awesome guys, and made some really good friends there. And then did that the first year I was here. I would just kind of show up and still like very much living a life of sin and not really like caring a whole lot, if you know what I mean. And then last year it got like a little more real. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get involved with the Newman Center here. I'm gonna like show up to Bible study. I'm gonna go to church. They had this retreat. Like I'm gonna go on this retreat. I'm just gonna like see what it's about. My grandma would always tell me like, you need to get involved with Newman Center. Like go there. It's like, all right, Grandma. It was like her dying wish for me to go, so I went. And yeah, just really slowly again, very gradual, very slow, like started changing my heart, I think. I started just desiring to like change the way I was spending my time and like to get sin out of my life and the way that it was taking hold. And then, dude, it's just been crazy. Like looking back this past year, like for context, now I lead a Bible study with one of my roommates, Jonathan. And I walk with some guys in the church, just like helping them become better men with me because I'm trying to be a better man, and just like growing in faith and relationship with God together. And dude, it's been so amazing. Like I was at a talk last night and they're talking about the fruits of the Spirit, the fruits of the Holy Spirit, joy, kindness, patience, love, like all these things. And I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, dang, like I'm noticing these things in myself as of lately. I'm like, catch me 2 years ago, like this peace that I feel, like this joy that I've kind of been having, like no way did I have this. But yeah, it's been a steady, like God's been working on me for sure, bro. I think it's less of me and more of him just desiring me, which is cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, like you said, you've felt like you've grown, right? But like life, it's like always just continue to process. So like maybe like this could be where we like, so like what do you think that are some areas still like in yourself that like you could grow upon? Like when you look at yourself, you're like, okay,
yeah.
Maybe like that quality of mine I could improve upon. Or maybe it's more like cemented things as well that you feel like it could be. But
Yeah,
what are some of those
totally.
areas?
Totally. I want to grow in virtue in a lot of ways. So I meet with a priest once a week for an hour. It's called spiritual direction, but honestly, we just talk about how to be a better dude. So I ask him each week, like, hey, what's like a virtue I can work on? So recently I've been working on humility. I found that there's been a lot of vanity in my life, which basically means an inflated view of myself in a lot of different ways, or thinking the things that I have to say or things that I do are more important than other people's. So I've been working on growing in humility a lot lately. Other areas that I've been trying to grow as well are being a little more adventurous too. I mean, we talked about college. We talked about all the amazing things on this campus. Like, I don't want to take them for granted and leave and then be like, shoot, man, I didn't go make the most of it. Like, I want to go get after it and see as much as I can see. I'm trying to be a little bit more curious too. I'm trying to be a better listener to other people. And I think a lot of these things, dude, honestly just come from like reducing like my own pride, just like caring more about other people. And from there, like, I think a lot of other things will kind of fall into place, but I'm also trying to care less about business and success and more about like the things that fill me up.
Yeah.
Business will always be a part of my life, and like I said, I'll always be tinkering with things and experimenting and starting new projects, but that's not the end all be all, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, more to life than just business.
Yeah.
Like when I was talking to like Suyash the other day, he said that like ultimately that's like his long-term goal.
Yeah.
But in order to help a lot of other people, you have to put your oxygen mask on first, like that whole metaphor.
Yeah.
And that like that's why he feels like where he's at, like in his stages. But one thing we could wrap up on is those are the things you want to improve upon, right? But like it's easy to say like, oh yeah, like I want to improve upon this, or like I want to improve upon being curious. I want to be more humble. And some of it can just be like just day-to-day stuff. But like, what are some actions that you actually want to take to improve upon those things?
Mm-hmm. I can give you some tangible things I've been doing to work on humility.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Perfect.
That have actually, they seem crazy, but I've been so surprised at how they've been working. So one thing, and dude, bear with me when you hear this, because when I heard it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. But fasting from mirrors for a week. Don't look at yourself in a mirror for a week. So if you've got mirrors in your bathroom or in your room, just put a sheet over them.
That's actually so valid.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't seem that hard. Like, I can do that, whatever. And then it made me realize how many times I like glance at like, oh, how's my hair? Or like, is my like, are my pants like buckled? I don't know. Like all these stupid little instances I'd be looking at myself, and it just helped me catch myself to know like, yo, dude, this isn't all about you. So that was a great exercise. I would challenge you guys and anyone listening just to try it. Like, maybe it's not something you struggle with, but it's also fun. I don't know. You'll just find yourself, I think, getting out of your head more than you might have expected. At least it did for me. What else? Little hacks have I done to work on humility? Another very little thing, but very actionable, is I try to be the last to speak. This past week, if I'm in like a group setting, just let everyone else talk first and just listen and be the last to speak. And it's not because you want to say the most important thing at the end, but it's like to help train myself to listen and then say whatever I have to say at the end. And then also it prevents you from sometimes like jutting in with a story that you want to say but really don't need to say it. Like all you're trying to do is just hear your own voice and get something out there, but really it's not like doing anything. So by forcing yourself to wait to the end of the conversation, you're helping kind of practice some patience. So those two things have been really good for me, I think, this past week, 2 weeks. So I'll leave it at that. If I say any more, nobody's going to do anything, so we'll keep it at 2.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, I always find that too. It's like if I'm trying to I'll like be giving advice, or like someone asks me for advice on something, and I'll ask like, in my head I want to give like 5 things, but I'm like, I just give one, and I'm like, okay, because that way they'll like hopefully actually take that one thing, just because it carries more substance. If it's 5, then someone's probably not. I can actually apply anything.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Totally.
I like the mirror one. That's interesting.
Text me. Let me know. Let me know what you think.
I would low-key try it.
That's gonna be rough, bro.
It's hard. Okay, it's hard because obviously you can put a sheet over the mirror in your bathroom and a sheet over the mirror in your room. It's like, I feel like the place where I would struggle the most is I use my Snap a lot.
Yeah, that's one I wasn't prepared for, but I noticed.
Because like every time you open that, it's like basically a mirror. So maybe you got to go off the grid for a week.
Hey,
I'm a text guy, so I don't really.
So you don't have to worry about that problem.
To worry with that.
Hit me up on iMessage if you need.
We'll do a little hibernation.
Yeah,
well,
it's worth a try.
Aidan Murphy, we have gone the distance. Is this the longest one now?
I think Rohan beat him by like 8 minutes.
8?
Or maybe 1 minute. I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, how long do you think it's been? Take a guess.
How long do I think it's been? I'm gonna say.
Let's say your perception of time.
1 hour and 11 minutes.
Not too far.
Yeah, not too far. Like an hour 31.
Yeah, we're like.
Whoa.
Yeah, when you think about that, that's a lot of time.
Dang, boys.
But yeah.
Wow.
Hey man, like always a pleasure being across the conversation.
Chopping it up. Thank you for having me, boys.
Of course.
Thank you, man. All right. Well, for everybody listening, I hope you guys really enjoyed this story. Aidan's a great guy. A lot to learn here from whether it's business, spirituality, entrepreneurship, practice, whatever it may be, right? And I hope you apply those 2 messages that we just heard.
Yeah, give it a try.
Take care, guys. Thank you.